In today's video, we'll be going on some slides that are quite questionable and borderline illegal, like this impossible loop and this terrifying homemade one. Storm drain. There are instances when going full send is appropriate. For example, while snowboarding. When snowboarding, if you're hesitant and hold back, you're most likely going to be fumbling all the way down the mountain. You gotta trust the mountain and allow gravity to take over. When you're surfing on the pavement though, you might not want to go full send. There are times when you want to go all out on the pavement, but it may be unsafe, and kind of that type of action is going to eventually end in disaster. You've come to the right location if you're looking for mayhem, though. This video shows legendary Hawaiian surfer Jamie O'Brien and his mates bombing a relatively unknown Hawaiian storm drain, which is pretty awesome. But you aren't going to see me or other people attempting it. The Black Hole. The Wet n Wild water park in Orlando is no longer in operations, which means its most famous water slide has gone the way of things that go into black holes. Kaput. Many of the park's problems centered around the black hole, a ride defined by the Orlando Business Journal as a twisting thrill where riders shoot down a dark tube on a two-person float. One man was seriously hurt by the black hole in 1994, and he sued the amusement park for the sum total of $1.73 million in 2000 and prevailed. The man claimed he was struck by something in the dark and couldn't move his legs when he arrived at the bottom of the slide. Doctors actually had to put a titanium plate into his neck to make sure he could function again. The park, of course, asserted ignorance, which doesn't appear to be a strong argument. "We never performed safety inspections, Your Honor, so how would we know if there was something wrong with the ride?" Yeah, that doesn't exactly inspire confidence. Employees testified throughout the trial that rafts were often becoming trapped and that the attendants would send a fresh raft into the attraction before the original one was confirmed to have exited. Cannonball Loop. Now let us present the most infamous water slide in history. It was so infamous that riders had to be hosed down to increase their chances of finishing. It was so infamous that even Action Park's most adventurous adventures refused to participate. Heck, it was so infamous it only lasted a single season. Cannonball Loop, which appeared to be an interdimensional hamster habitat, was long and dark. It had an improbable-looking loop at the end that made you question if it was powered by a deal with the devil, since it had nothing to do with the laws of physics. The Cannonball Loop debuted in the summer of 1985, but it was only operational for about a month before it was shut down by the New Jersey Carnival Amusement Rights Safety Board. This was because all the other wacky action park attractions were fine, but this one obviously went too far, according to Gizmodo. So who were the few crazy enough to ride the thing? Mostly action park employees who were handed $100 in exchange for possibly never seeing their families again. In Action Park's defense, dummies were sent down the thing first. Of course, you have to ignore the fact that several of them came out missing vital body parts, including heads on a few of them. Perfectly safe. Vertigo. Aqualandia in Benidorm, Spain has a 108-foot-tall water slide called the Vertigo. Riders are dumped through a trapdoor down a steep slide and into the ocean, which sounds thrilling, as long as you survive the trapdoor. Wait, what was that last part? According to the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, British visitor Jamie Norman enjoyed the Vertigo so much that he went down it 3 times. However, the 3rd time was different since the trapdoor did not open all the way, crushing his arms, legs, and his face. Alright, so that's pretty horrifying. Now, Norman was treated by an on-site doctor and escorted out of the park with some free zoo tickets in exchange. In addition, it took roughly 10 minutes for the Vertigo to be reopened, which doesn't seem like enough time to clean up the blood or fix the broken trap door. In July of 2019, another British visitor broke his back in the same water park, though not on the same slide. David Briffolt, 23, was riding the splash slide when he fell into the water and was knocked unconscious. In the accident, Briffolt broke 2 vertebrae. Silver Lake Flats Slip and Slide. You know another thing that could be considered illegal? Building a 60-foot slide down your roof. Okay, actually not really illegal, but it's most certainly not recommended and it might get you a few letters from your HOA. Much like this group of guys here who thought it was a great idea to do the exact same thing. To all the viewers out there, don't be like them and please don't try this at home. Now, this is what you call being home alone. Guy's parents leave for 10 days, and he and his friends decide to build a gigantic water slide themselves. Granted, this isn't like your regular slip and slide. This is the exact image of youth unsupervised. Looking at the video, you can see that the end of the slide curves up a bit, which sends you flying into an inflatable pool. The whole thing just looks like a recipe for disaster. But you gotta give it to these kids for having the guts to go down that terrifying slide. It's a good thing that none of their guts spilled out and managed to stay safe inside their bodies. White Road Hike. We all enjoy being mischievous from time to time. being rebellious and all is a normal human state. That's why deep in the beautiful forests of Hawaii's Waipio Valley, locals and tourists alike will cross the White Road hike to reach a massive 35-foot irrigation flume perched on a concrete pool. It's basically a gigantic slide trap deep in the forest, and we all want to go there right now. This hike has grown in popularity in recent years as a result of social media sites. This is mostly owing to the fact that a segment of this trip follows the historic Koala Ditch system. The ditch system was used to transport collected rainwater down the mountains to the old sugarcane fields that covered the island's north and east sides. Along this ditch is a well-known flume that transports water to the next section of the ditch system. At the bottom of this flume is a big concrete square pool several feet deep. Many people enjoy going down the flume as a waterslide. Should be noted though that attempting to do so includes considerable dangers of bodily harm or injury. So visit this place and slide down at your own risk. Now it's time for today's best pick. We'll be going down a slide that local authorities have threatened to close down. Clary Hall Dam. A dam in northern New South Wales has thrill seekers risking their lives by sliding down a concrete spillway. To heighten the excitement, this is also in front of millions of spectators. Up to 7 million people have watched videos of children using the sizable illegal waterslide at the Clary Hall Dam on the Tweed. One video has received over 3 million views and includes subtitles implying the people seen have been granted permission to slide. However, Anthony Burnham, the Tweedshire Council's manager of water, stated that the council would never provide approval due to the major risks inherent with a flip bucket at the bottom of the chute. After the footage went viral, authorities threatened to close the dam. The Rucked Waterslide. It's terrible when someone is injured or murdered while participating in a recreational activity. But the horrible manner in which this youngster died makes it difficult to even ponder, let alone put into words. The Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City aspired to be the world's tallest water slide, so they built a 170-foot tall monster called Verrückt, which translates to crazy in German. Then during the ride, a 10-year-old kid named Caleb Schwab was beheaded as his raft caught air and his head smacked a pole. According to The Independent, state authorities did file criminal charges against the park, but the judge later dismissed them because of the improper nature of the evidence. The prosecutor utilized film from a dramatized documentary called Extreme Water Parks to plead his case, which most people would think is a pretty stupid thing to do in a trial. Caleb's family did receive a $20 million settlement from the park and some of the corporations involved in its construction, but it is difficult to put a number on the death of a child, especially in such a tragic fashion. Fortunately, after 2 years of hanging over the park as a dreadful monument to one of the worst catastrophes in water park history, Verrückt was permanently shut down and removed in 2018. Shoot the Rapids. Cedar Point Water Park in Sandusky, Ohio modestly claims to be the best amusement park in the world and hopes you won't recall the 2013 accident while deciding whether or not to agree. Guests were on the river rafting simulation ride Shoot the Rapids in July of 2013 when something went horribly wrong. The boat they were aboard abruptly rolled backward 187 feet down the lift track. It then collided with the edge of a concrete flume, colliding with another boat and flipping over. Riders were buckled in and upside down in the water, and it was likely only the rapid actions of park personnel and passerby that saved the tragedy from being disastrous. According to the Sandusky Register, the disaster occurred due to the failure of two of the ride's safety features, one designed to prohibit the boats from sliding backward and the other to keep the boats on the track. Kinda sound like they might have been important safety features. In any case, the roller coaster wasn't formally closed down until 2016, and most Cedar Point visitors weren't too sad to see it leave. Horrible design, remarked one fan on the Cedar Point forum. Stupid premise and a dangerous and faulty product, not to mention a huge waste of space. See you all next time.